Noon, a beautiful day here in the capital city of Kansas. Thank you so much for talking all things NFL. And we'll get to a bad baseball team as well coming up today on this edition of Mic'd Up. Jake LeBon, Fulton Caster with you. We are ready to talk all things draft grades, ready to go on this Monday. Veach is going to be speaking to the media at some point in time. He was supposed to start at noon. Of course, that never happens at One Arrowhead Drive. We will get to Veach coming up in the 1 o'clock hour today. We'll talk draft. We'll talk AFC West, the rest of the NFL, how it fits. We will spend 15 minutes on the Royals. That is it. That's all we are giving you on this Monday, in which the Royals are off. We're going to give you 15 minutes on the team who went 7-22 in the first month of the season. We will get to them as well. Hit us up on our text line, 785-272-9429. Let us know your thoughts. You can also give us a shout on our Fleming Place Wine and Spirits phone line. Let us know how you think the Kansas City Chiefs did over the weekend adding to their roster. How do we feel? Do you feel like this is a big-time contribution class like last year when they had 4 players essentially start in the Super Bowl? Or how do you view this draft class? Let us know your thoughts here on this edition of Mic'd Up. Fulton, we have not talked about our full philosophies on this draft class because we wanted to wait until the show. So it's full go, ready, back and forth. I look at this draft as a more of a risky draft for the Chiefs with high upside for this draft class. We've noted last week that the Kansas City Chiefs don't have a ton of roster spots available, nor do they have a lot of starting spots available for 2023. We figured about 4 spots could be up for grabs for rookies unless these guys just turned into a machine, right? They turned into Trey Smith or somebody like that. So I think Veach, Andy Reid, the Chiefs front office, honestly had that same type of evaluation going into this draft, because this was a draft that the Kansas City Chiefs did go positional need over best player available. And I don't care what Mike Bongazi or whoever tells you, Veach like, no, we took the best player on our board. You're lying, because your top 3 picks were picks of need, and you traded up to get your guy 4 times in this draft. You went and you got your guy. Okay? That means you evaluated him more so and wanted him more so than any other guy at that position at that time. So these are Chiefs guys. They went out and they set their sights on specifically Rashee Rice, Wanya Morris in this draft. They went and got their guy, and also Shamari Connor. They traded up to get Shamari Connor. They wanted them. They were willing to give up other draft capital to get those guys, which I have no problem with. That's the guys that they fell in love with and they went after. But I look at this draft as more so as they get kind of a red shirt year in 2023. And if they do help out this team, that is a bonus. I look at this year's draft as we went after some athletic dudes who we think we can help coach up, put in a better system, because our players are better than the players that they played around with in college. And in 2024, I expect this group to make a big, big impact. At that time, Mike Dana will be gone. So now you have only 3 true rushers. That is going to be Karlaftis, Amenahu, and Felix Anudike-Uzomah. Perfect. Put them all on the field at the same time. Slide Amenahu inside. If you're front 4 in 2024, and it could also happen in 2023, but I think FAU, Felix Anudike-Uzomah, has a little bit of room to grow, but he will be playing the position that he is set up for, which is the edge, not the interior, which he played at K-State. And I think it's more of a future draft. We know the wide receiver position is very difficult to learn and to get involved in early. Now, there is more of an option this year in 23 for Rashee Rice. But I think if you look at it, this is a year for, hey, give him a year under the belt, kind of like what Sky Moore did. We expect a lot more from Sky Moore this year than he did last year, okay? Now, there isn't no Juju this year. Tony's probably going to be injured, so maybe Rashee Rice gets a little bit more of a helping when it comes to that. I also look at, to me, Morris is the unique cat in this draft because this guy is athletically gifted. He is a athletic individual. He's got the size. It's wild that 310 pounds is not considered big at tackle anymore. That's wild. But he's fast. He's quick. He has the agility. This is a guy that I think has the best chance to start. I don't think Felix Anudike-Uzomah will start because I think it's going to be depending upon the situation. Amenahu and Karlaftis on the outside, Chris Jones, and then maybe an interior guy. But they're going to rotate. D-line is all about rotation. But I think Morris, if he turns out to be like a Creed Humphrey or like a Trey Smith where, hey, you know what? We're going to plug this guy in. Wow, he's really, really good with some really good coaching and another, year under his belt. I think Morris could end up being a guy who could help out as well. So I look at this draft class as a more of a depth for the future because Dana's going to be gone. So now you've got 3 defensive ends and maybe a minute who slides in. Rashee Rice is going to join Tony and Sky Moore and because MBS is probably not going to be here next year. So I look at that as a big factor. And they're really young at wide receiver. There's 4 guys now who they think could be wide receivers for them for a little bit, which is great to see. Morris should be your starting right tackle in 2024. I mean, it really should be. And I actually seen Jeff Schwartz, former Chief, does a lot of media and offensive line stuff. He thinks he'll be starting at right tackle by the end of the year. He says it would not surprise me at all if Morris is starting at the end of the year. And then the guys late are a bunch of just athletic guys who they think might be able to help out in special teams, maybe in the future. When you look at, the defensive back, what's his name? Nick Jones, BJ Thompson. Those are future guys that you're taking flyers on a little bit because they didn't have that gigantic need like they did last year. So I look at it as expectations for this upcoming year. When we go through our overs and unders for these rookies, they're going to be low. I just think the Chiefs roster is set up that unless some injuries occur or one of these guys really flashes and becomes that dude, to not expect as much as last year's draft class because they had much more opportunity. That's how I view it.
Yeah, so when you look at this class, and that's the thing with the Chiefs, going into this draft, this was different than last year in that there was not a pressing spot to where you go, the Chiefs need to find a starter. You just need to find contributors. And that's what they did because for Felix, he's going to be asked to do a little bit in year 1, but he's going to be brought along slowly. And, he might start to pick things up by the end of the year. But overall, it is to add depth to the rotation and to be a piece. And then, like you said, to be mainly available for 2024. Rashee Rice is fascinating to me because I think he's the Juju replacement in terms of what he'll do. Now, I don't know if that, I don't think that necessarily translates to him doing that this year. But Rashee Rice is not a burner. He's not a guy who's going to stretch the field, but he has shown a knack for separation in the short and the intermediate, and has a good understanding of soft spots and zone coverage, which are all terms you've heard me use to describe Juju Smith-Schuster before. So I think that is a fascinating piece to add to the room, because he's a go up and get it boy. Like, he is
41-inch vertical and a bigger body like that. That's his MO.
He's a chuck that sun gun up there and I'm going to go get the ball. And the Chiefs haven't really had that. And so I think that's what it is, but I don't know how much that'll be used here in year one. Again, Wanya Morris I'm with you, is fascinating. Because if you tell me that Wanya Morris doesn't really see the field at all this year, I go, okay, that's fine. Name for 2024. And if you told me by the time training camp ends, Wanya Morris is your starting right tackle, I'd go, okay, cool, that's fine, makes sense. Because he is fascinating to me as a player. Because Wanya Morris physically is a first-round body. Yep. First-round length, first-round athleticism, everything. He fell to the third because his technique is, to put it bluntly, bad. To put it bluntly, he does not have good technique. He's
able to out-athlete you because his arms are that of a pterodactyl wingspan. Like he's not T-Rex, all right? He has got arms and he's athletic, which is a surprise because Bill Biddenbaugh, who is the O-line coach for Oklahoma, he is an offensive line NFL factory. Look what he has put out over the last couple of years. Creed Humphrey, Anton Harrison, Orlando Brown, Wanya Morris. I'm probably
pumping out offensive linemen out there at Oklahoma.
A bunch of them. He is, you could argue, the best offensive line coach in the country. And so he's got good technique, but you can't work one-on-one with, a guy like Wanya Morris.
It's a little different.
And he only had him
for 2 years?
For a short time span because he transferred from Tennessee. So I do think this is the biggest aspect of a guy like Morris can get a lot of one-on-one coaching with Andy Heck, who's another phenomenal offensive
line coach.
You're going to be put right next to Trey Smith, whom you know, and so that's
the fascinating part, is that Wanya Morris and Trey Smith played together at Tennessee briefly, and so you got a Tennessee right side of your line, but those first three picks all can contribute in year one, I think, in some way, but mainly big contributors on a higher upside in year two. And then the back part of the draft, you got a lot of chances to find guys who either can just be role players or could contribute. B.J. Thompson, an athletic edge out of Stephen F. Austin, he could be a piece of that pass rush rotation as you go. If I'm trusting anyone to do anything with 4th round and 7th round defensive backs, it's Kansas City. And so I would not surprise me if Chamari Connor or Nick Jones just all of a sudden turn into all pros. Because apparently the Chiefs just do that with corners in the late round, with defensive backs in late rounds. They apparently are the best team at identifying late round defensive backs. It's really strange. And then Keandre Coburn has one job. It is, when you're put on the field, just eat up all the space in existence. He's huge.
He does that.
He's a very large man.
Yeah.
He is your new Derek Nottie.
Yes.
He is not. Yeah. And that's what, Keandre Coburn was one of the ones you really need to manage expectations for. Because I don't believe at any point in his career with the Chiefs, whether that's the 4 years he'll have on his rookie contract or longer, I don't know if he'll ever register more than a sack a season. He's not a pass rusher. But what he is run stuffing down. You need to put a big body out there. Throw the guy who's 340 and 6'2". Just throw the big wide guy. And there's a lot of value in that, though.
And he's athletic enough to whereas I think he can do it. Now, his athletic scores are not great.
No, he's not a very, massively athletic man.
He's the outlier. Everyone else,
everyone else is a really good top-tier athlete, a good, RAS score. We always talk about this. It's an athletic score composite. Coburn's the only one with a lot of yellow and red on his page. But it's because his job isn't to be athletic. It's to be on the line and just eat up space, which you don't really need to be athletic. You need to be big and strong, and that's what he is. Nearly 340 pounds for a defensive tackle.
And he moves a lot better on film. He had a pretty good game against Alabama. And when you look at Alabama and the talent that they've got, I think Coburn is a terrific pick in the 6th round. You got him in the 6th round.
Mm-hmm.
And now we look at where this roster sits, I think 6 of these guys are going to make the team. My biggest, the biggest dart that they took in this draft is BJ Thompson.
Yeah,
this dude is basically Tano Passanio, but as an edge. Tano was more of an interior kind of guy. BJ Thompson
explosive.
Is stupid athletic at 6'6" and 243. And they don't
not that strong.
They don't have that guy as a pass rusher. He is going to be a pass rusher. He is long. He's got length. He is quick. He is very, and they don't have that kind of pass rusher.
And so I'm fascinated what BJ Thompson
where they
does.
Put him at.
Yeah, and how he slots in, because, normally for the Chiefs and Steve Spagnuolo, he wants guys that can defend the run. That's why he goes to, we talk about the prototypical Steve Spagnuolo mold at defensive end. Big, long, heavy dudes who can find a way to power through. Yeah, but they're heavy enough that they don't get washed out by tackles. BJ Thompson, prototype-wise right now, is not that guy. His 2 weak spots are he's not that heavy, only 240, which I say that, and 240 is still big, but like for an edge, 240 is light, a little light in the seat. And he did not have a lot of propriety. Like his bench score was incredibly low for an edge, which is not,
shockingly low.
Yeah. And so he will be mainly a speed guy, but the Chiefs don't really have speed guys. So I'm fascinated to see how BJ Thompson's deployed. But like we talked about, there's room for 7 rookies on the 53. I don't know if they all make it. Maybe like Nick Jones, he's a 7th rounder. He could make the roster, or he could be a practice squad, or he could get cut. But again, it's the Chiefs. He's a 7th round DB. I assume he'll have a 98-yard pick 6 this year, because apparently that's just what this team does, and it's really stupid.
Yeah.
But who knows?
So I hope Chiefs fans temper expectations.
Yeah, like
for this class.
The odds of any of these guys being a star rookie of the year candidate in year 1 is low.
Yeah.
But
I don't
this is great depth. This is great depth for years forward, because this is what you do with a team with a couple of big stars that cost a lot of money. You need depth rookies who can contribute in some way, and I think all of these guys can do that.
I don't think there is a Creed Humphrey or a Trent McDuffie in this group.
I don't think so either.
Where you go, man.
They just make your eyes pop out of your head.
Yeah, I
just don't think so either. But I think there'll be some good players.
Because the drafts have been so good, because you found Creed, because you found Trey Smith and L'Jarius Sneed and Jalen Watson and Nick Bolton and those type of guys. There's not a lot of spots out there. And so I don't even know if a Jalen Watson shows up right now in the draft, he's not going to get, Nick Jones could be Jalen Watson, but he's not going to probably get that opportunity.
It's a loaded cornerback room.
Yeah. If he does, then they found a certifiable dude.
Yeah.
Because that means they trust this guy over the guys that they've got, which can be a good thing. We got a lot to get to. We'll go around the NFL coming up at the bottom of the hour. Coming up next are Weekend's Takeaways and Fails. Big weekend takeaway from me. I mean, it was one of the two coolest moments of the draft involved K-State players.
Yeah.
Felix Udike-Uzomah going to his hometown team, and then Deuce Vaughn's dad calling his son and says, hey, do you want to come to work with me on Monday? Like, hey, do you want to carpool? Those two were awesome.
That was awesome.
It really, really was. I think that's pretty cool. And the fact that Julius Brents goes to his hometown team in Indianapolis, Hayes does in Tampa. But
good moments for K-State boys.
And Udike-Uzomah, crying because he's, taken where he was and where he came from. And then Deuce Vaughn, same situation. That's pretty cool. That was my big weekend takeaway.
That's a good one.
Yeah, those two are sweet. I mean, I was like seeing these guys burst into tears because they're now an NFL player. I mean, it's something that they
never gets old, man.
Yeah, it's so cool.
Never gets old.
Cool.
My weekend fail is pretty simple. The entire umpiring crew in Minnesota should be ashamed of themselves and should never get to work a major league game ever again.
It's not
all
good.
4 of them sucked.
It's not good.
All 4 of them sucked. They're gigantic children. Nick Marley, I dare you to go meet Samuel Reyes in a parking lot, barking him from 100 feet away. Absolute coward. All 4 of them should not ever get to work a game again. Horrendous.
That was bad. That was
horrible. Downright horrible.
Yeah.
All 4 need to be ashamed of themselves.
There's just no accountability. Man.
No, it's really annoying.
That's bad. It really is. Coming up, we're going to go around the NFL when it comes to the NFL draft. No Royals baseball today. Thank goodness. They have a 10-game homestand coming up starting tomorrow. We'll get to some Royals. We'll spend 15 minutes on the Royals. That's it. No more. Because they haven't earned that. Not even, I'm like mad. Like I was like aloof, you know. Now I'm like mad. But coming up here soon, I won't be. This is the difference between you and me, Fulton. Fulton is so mad he can't even talk right now.
I'm not even mad. I'm just,
That's not
tired.
Good for you. That's not
I'm
good
just
for you.
tired.
We'll get to them here in a little bit. Brett Veach just finished up speaking to the media. He did say he wouldn't be surprised if something with Jerick McKinnon gets done soon.
Chiefs didn't take a running back in the draft.
No.
Now they've brought in a few for undrafted free and yada, 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 but still.
Interesting. Kind of sounds like Juwan Taylor's going to be left tackle. Right tackle will be a competition between Lucas Niang, Wanya Morris, and Darian Kennard. So one of those three will end up being your right tackle. I think I have an idea of who's going to start, who finish, but that is some of the stuff that Brett Veach had. We'll get to that coming up in the 1 o'clock hour here on this edition of Mic'd Up. Right now, though, we're going to go a little bit around the NFL when it comes to the drafts. First, we'll start with the team that made the playoffs last year in the AFC West, the Chargers. Before we get to that, did any team in the AFC West have a draft where you go, damn, the Chiefs are in trouble? Like, wow, they're getting after it. They filled every single glaring needing hole. Oh man, what's going to happen here? Yikes. Did anyone have that?
I'm going to steal a line that our good friend Dan Lucero of 580 Sports Talk used when he joined me for Mic'd Up on Friday. Did anyone draft Patrick Mahomes?
No.
Then no, I'm not worried.
Okay, let me rephrase that. Did anyone have a better by leaps and bounds draft class than another draft class in your mind?
So, like, here's the way I would break it down and look at it. None of these teams have a point where I'm like actually like worried is the way I put it. Where, like, I think
okay.
The Chiefs are winning the AFC West until I don't see it again. They've won it 7 straight years. I will say this about this year's draft classes. Now that it's all been settled and like everything is kind of the dust has settled a little bit, Las Vegas Raiders might actually have to start being thought about again.
Okay.
The Raiders had a really nice draft. Now, that being said, that did make me laugh when they took Aiden O'Connell. So if they do anything with Aiden O'Connell, I rescind everything I'm saying right now. But that outside of it, like, they had a really nice, like, Tyree Wilson off the edge is going to be an absolute pain unless the Raiders are stupid and don't play him over Chandler Jones. All this is in the mind of the Raiders use these players properly, which they might not. They got Michael Mayer in the second round. They really did.
Mm-hmm.
They got the best all-around tight end on the board after Sam Laporta. Because I don't know what the Lions are doing. Like Byron Young in the third round, that was a good grab. Trey Tucker should be a nice wide receiver to go. Like, they had 4 picks in the top 100, and they're all nice players. Like, I don't know how much that's going to make the Raiders jump up from where they are now as the cellar dwellers of the West, because they are still handicapped by an absolute moron for a head coach, and their quarterback is a pretty boy. Like, they're handicapped by that. But when they traded away Darren Waller, we were all kind of going, what are you guys thinking? That's a pretty good replacement for Darren Waller, Michael Mayer. It's a pretty good replacement.
I think the Raiders had the best top 2 picks of anyone in the AFC West. Like, Tyree Wilson, getting him at 7 is a great spot to be in. And then getting Michael Mayer at 35.
Lions, I'm mad at you. If Michael Mayer becomes a problem in the AFC West, Lions, I will never forgive you. I will join Brendan in hating your souls.
Like, those two, Byron Young, Trey Tucker. I think
nice
you could have gotten maybe some better picks there, but they needed help. They basically said, we need help in the trenches. We got a pass rusher. We got an interior D lineman. We got a tight end. We needed some help. And then in the 4th round, see, them taking a quarterback is stupid to me.
Yeah, that's the one spot where
dumb.
I go, what are you doing?
Yeah. Maybe Bennett out of Maryland's going to be good as a defensive back. Maybe that's going to be a good situation.
And they need DB. If there's anything, if I'm the Raiders, that if I was them, I would have done differently. They didn't address their defensive back room enough in the early part of the round, but who knows what they do.
So, and they should have the better draft because their picks were 7.
They had the best selection of picks amongst everyone in the AFC West.
I mean, the Chiefs picked 31 and the Raiders picked 4 spots after them, and getting Michael Mayer. So I do think the Raiders had the best top end of the draft when it comes to this.
Yeah, I agree.
I think I'm very intrigued by what the Chargers did.
Yeah.
The Chargers took Quentin Johnston.
That's a real good crap.
He's a guy who gives them a little bit yards after the catch.
Mm-hmm.
This tells me that this is the year for the Chargers. This is it right here. The year 2023 is the year. And the reason why, when you look at the cap hits of the Chargers going forward, they are some monster cap hits for their wide receivers going forward. Mike Williams' cap hit next year is $32 million. Keenan Allen's is $34 million. All right. They are not going to be on the team next year. Okay. And there's no like restructuring and all of that kind of stuff. No, that's not going to happen. All right. There's zero chance that they are going to have a $32 million cap hit for Keenan Allen or for Mike Williams and a $34 million cap hit for Keenan Allen. That is not going to happen. Okay. It's not. So this is it. And they went out and they got another guy. They said that we got to score. We have to score with the Kansas City Chiefs. And that's why they went and got Quentin Johnston. I think they're going to try to do everything that they can to mend fences with Austin Eckler. Because if you have, for this Charger team, if you've got Johnson and Williams and Allen and Eckler, you are going to have plenty of options. Plenty of options. And that's why I think outside of that, I don't think the big D lineman out of USC, that surprises me. They couldn't stop the run last year, so maybe that's the reason.
I mean, that's why they took Tuli Tupuola is because they need interior defensive line help.
And then they got Henley as a linebacker who they hope he's basically Nick Bolton in a tackling machine.
Yeah.
So that to me, their draft, I don't think it was a terrific one, but man, with what they drafted Quentin Johnston to give it one big go this year, and then he's going to be their guy next year in 2024. That tells me that, hey, we're riding with Quentin Johnston. They'll maybe try to get another free agent wide receiver.
Yeah.
And they're going to end right now. You can kind of see this is what's going to happen with the Chargers with Justin Herbert. This is it. Last year on his rookie deal, he'll get an extension this offseason. It'll probably happen, sometime within the next month and a half. Yeah. And then they're not going to pay their wide receivers because they think their guy can get them open. So Quentin Johnston, they'll have him for 5 years, dirt cheap. Go out and get another, free agent wide receiver potentially. And that is who you have in your wide receiver. This is a year. Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, I will be very surprised if they're back next year. One of them might be. Both of them, zero chance of that happening.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult. And so that's what makes the Chargers fascinating.
Yes.
But Quentin Johnston does raise the ceiling of their offense. And if Tuli out of USC can be anything in the defensive line room to where they can actually start stopping the run, the Chargers can actually close the gap and be a good football team.
I think the Denver Broncos did as well as they could.
They did the best they could with 5 picks.
With what they had to offer. I think their first 3 picks, and I think their 7th round pick, I really do think the Broncos had a good draft. And here's the reason why. I think Riley Moss is a steal at pick number 83.
That's going to really help out.
I'm very surprised that Drew Sanders lasted until the 3rd round. I think he's a very good linebacker.
And they need linebacking help.
And I think Marvin Mims.
Yeah, we all know how Jay feels about Marvin Mims.
This all comes down to this. If Russell Wilson can throw a pass to a wide receiver, this is a terrific pick because he will basically replace either Cortland Sutton or Jerry Jeudy within the next year or 2 years.
We'll see about Jeudy. They did pick up Judy's 5th-year option.
I think he will end up being a better wide receiver than Jerry Jeudy.
I wouldn't be surprised.
And so, but this is all predicated on the quarterback.
Yeah, the quarterback actually getting them the football because they kind of have a problem with that right now in Russell Wilson.
But I think Mims, Sanders, and Moss, those 3 guys in rounds 2, 3, and 3 might be 2 of the best or 3 of the best picks in the 2nd and 3rd round in this entire AFC West. I don't think the Chargers did anything great in rounds 2 and 3. I really don't.
Yeah.
I think the Raiders did with Michael Mayer, but that's a crazy early 2nd round pick. And then the Chiefs, who they took, to me, Marvin Mims is more pro ready than Rashee Rice because I think Marvin Mims is a more complete wide receiver. Yeah. The Chiefs are going with the higher ceiling, whereas the Broncos went with, to me, the better guy. Yeah. They did. They went with the better guy. And the Chiefs could have taken Marvin Mims. And this is the best part about the draft is the Chiefs singled out these guys. And that's the other thing about why I don't believe in, this is what the board said. No, because you traded up 3 different times. They had 10 picks. They only made 7 selections. Okay. They went after their guys. If you trade up, that means you like that guy a lot more. They liked Rashee Rice a lot more than they did Marvin Mims.
Yeah, it wasn't like they were standing pat back there, because let's remember the Broncos where they took Marvin Mims at was basically where the Chiefs were going to be picking. They stood pat.
Pick 63. Yes.
They
Yes.
could have had Marvin Mims by standing pat. They liked Rashee Rice more.
And so you can look at that. Rashee Rice versus Marvin Mims. How do they stack up? Because that's one way that you can determine that. I do think Drew Sanders is a more NFL ready prospect than most in the third round. And I like Riley Moss as a defensive back, compared to the Kansas City Chiefs in their second and third round picks. When you look at it, the Chiefs took a much more of a project to me in Wanya Morris.
Yeah.
And they just flat out like Rashee Rice a lot better.
And that, though, describes you the difference in the positions that the Chiefs and Broncos are in as an organization. Because, the Chiefs can take projects right now because their roster is so complete. They don't need any of the guys to come in and fill holes and be starters immediately. If any of these guys fill holes year one, it's just a bonus to the Chiefs. If Wanya Morris comes in and starts every game at right tackle, starts all 17 games at right tackle, that's just a bonus. They would have been fine with Lucas Niang doing it, or Darian Kennard if he won the job. But if Wanya Morris wins it, awesome, bonus.
Okay.
If Felix Uzama pops off and all of a sudden, has a core laugh this year and all of a sudden finished 6.5 sacks, that's just a bonus.
No, huge bonus.
It's huge not bonus. If Rashee Rice does literally anything in year one, it's just a nice little bonus. Whereas the Broncos need Marvin Mims to do something year one. They honestly probably need Drew Sanders to take a starting job at linebacker. They need these guys to actually do something. It's just a different spot of your organizational wise.
All righty. Team wise in the NFL, what drafts do you like the best team wise? To me, two of them had fantastic drafts. And I hope Dan feels the same way, but I think the Seattle Seahawks had a great draft despite always taking a running back in the second round. But here's the reason why. To me, they got the best corner in the draft, and they got the best wide receiver in the draft. And they picked almost, 15 picks apart. I think Jackson Smith and Jigba as your third option behind DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett is terrific. And I think Witherspoon opposite Tariq Woolen is fantastic. And they also got Derek Hall, who's a pass rusher at pick 37. I really like the Seahawks draft. I think that was a very, very solid draft as well. And then I like what the Steelers did. I think the Steelers are not going to be very good because of Kenny Pickett. But Broderick Jones, you could argue, is a top offensive lineman. It was between Skoronski, Paris Johnson, and Jones. I think Jones is terrific. And then you get Joey Porter in the second round. And then you get Darnell Washington in the third round as your tight end. You got another offensive lineman in Darnell Washington. I thought the Steelers had a very good draft. Those were two guys or two teams that jumped out to me that end up being really good picks.
Yeah, if the Steelers can find a pulse on offense, they can compete in the AFC North. That defense is still going to continue to be nice, especially after adding Joey Porter Jr. to it as well. If that offense can find a pulse, they will compete. It's pretty simple for me. Why do we keep letting Philly get away with this? Why do we keep letting Philly do what they're doing? Can someone stop them? Seriously.
I think what it is.
This is ridiculous.
I think it's people overlooking this simple decision. Jalen Carter going 9th is stupid. They got the best, maybe the most NFL body and talent ready to go.
Yeah.
And you put him next to Fletcher Cox. You put him next to Hassan Reddick.
Put him next to Jordan Davis when they want to go real big.
You know what I mean? That was a surprise for a lot of, and this is also giving yourself the opportunity. The only reason they're trading in this spot is because of what they've done previously.
Yeah, they've set themselves up nice by acquiring picks. Just the Philadelphia Eagles, a team that was in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Sat here in the first round, got Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith. And they didn't have to do a lot to get out of those. They moved up one spot to get Jalen Carter with Chicago, and it didn't take much to do that. And they sat there and got Nolan Smith at 30 without moving an inch. Then they sit there, get Sidney Brown in the third round. That's a nice little corner piece. Then they sit there and get Khalil Ringo in the fourth.
Yeah, solid.
I don't.
And they traded.
It's insane.
And they traded and got another really good running back in DeAndre Swift.
Yeah. This is not an original joke, but I will keep hammering on the joke. The Eagles just looked at the Georgia Bulldogs and went, that looks kind of like an NFL team, and decided to recreate it. Mainly the Georgia defense. They looked at that Georgia defense and, man, that's a lot of NFL players in that defense. And we're just like, we're going to have them all.
I think there's 5. They got 5 of them, right?
I believe so. In this draft alone, they added 3 more.
On the
defensive side. In this draft alone, they had Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, and Khalil Ringo. They had Jordan Davis from last year.
And Nakobe Dean.
Yeah,
they got 5.
5 in the last 2 drafts. 5 Georgia defensive players.
And we wonder why Georgia won, the last 2 championships is everyone who played on that 2021 title team on defense got drafted. All 11 of them. Every single one of them.
You were not wrong if you looked at that team and went, man, that looks like an NFL defense out there. It's because it literally was.
Yeah. Over the 2-year
quite
period.
Literally was.
Everyone basically.
It's ridiculous.
Did. So I thought that was that's the Bears deciding they didn't go best player available. They went position of need. That's why they traded back
and took Darnell Wright, which I think is smart because
if
you want to evaluate Justin Fields properly, he needs time to play quarterback or at least try to be in a pocket. The Bears, I will give them all the credit in the world to do that. And then also, I don't know how this is going to work out because of what they gave to do it, but shout out the Houston Texans who decided not only are we going to go get our new quarterback, we're also going to go get the best defensive player in the draft.
And I also want to make this point. Now that the dust is settled, they traded up to get CJ Stroud. That's what I want people to realize. They didn't trade up to get Will Anderson. They traded up to get CJ Stroud. They drafted Stroud with the 2nd pick, and they said, we wanted to make sure we got our quarterback. Then they decided to give up a 1st-round pick and a 2nd-round pick for a pass rusher. No, it was inverse. They drafted CJ Stroud to make sure they got him. But then, because they were able to get him, that is why then they made that trade. Because if you take Will Anderson first, then you might not get your guy in CJ Stroud. So,
yeah, because if you're sitting there at 3 now, Stroud on the board, it'd probably be a lot harder to Arizona because more people are calling.
Yes. So that's why they
versus less people are calling those 2 quarterbacks off the board.
Because a lot of people were just eviscerating them going, wow, you're giving up a 1st-round and a 2nd-round pick for a pass rusher that might not be that
really
guy.
Did that for the quarterback.
You did. You got the quarterback, and now you traded up and you got Will Anderson at that spot. So I think that's a smart play there. We got a lot more to get to. We will talk about that bad baseball team an hour to the east of us coming up. Taking Fulton, hour number 2, coming at you here from the capital city. Jacob on Fulton Caster with you. No Royals baseball tonight. We will get to what Brett Veach had to say to the media. He spoke just a little bit ago. We'll get to that coming up at the bottom of the hour. In Fulton, we get to talk about one of your favorite niche topics, and that is turning heel. That is right. Okay. We are going to talk a little bit embracing the villain. We will get to that.
Thing I've politely asked all of you to start doing because
We're
it's
going to get
really
to that.
fun.
Look out, overaction, proper reaction, a lot more. As always, so let us know your thoughts. Hit us up on our text line, 785-272-9429. Very simple, very easy, as we'd love to get your thoughts. Also, give us a shout on our Fleming Place Wine and Spirits phone line, 785-272-9429. We will talk a lot more draft coming up with Brett Veach and in the 2 o'clock hour. But I do want to spend the next 15 minutes on our bad baseball team to the east of us. The Royals stink.
Was not a good first month.
Bad.
Pretty bad. Pretty bad first month.
The Royals are 7-22.
Yep.
It's a miracle they won 7.
Kind of.
And we do know one of those was a comeback win here late. So really, you know, they kind of got lucky there. It's the third time in franchise history they have won 7 wins in their first 29 games.
Yeah.
The other, everybody remembers that magical 2005 and 2006 seasons when they were terrible.
Mm-hmm.
The Royals had a 10-game road trip.
They
went 3-7.
Not great.
They lost 5 of the 7 games by more than 1 run. So really they were only in, you know, a couple. Otherwise they just got destroyed. So 2 of the 7 losses were by 1 run where they had a chance. And we said that we would give the Chiefs until...
You mean to give the Royals?
The Royals. We're going to give the Chiefs a lot longer.
They get a lot of leash.
We will give the Royals till May 11th. Okay? And it was a stretch of 22 games. Okay? 22 games in which they were not going to play Murderer's Row. And... they are 3-9 in those 22 games. And now they've got 10 games in a row against teams that are not great. You have teams such as the Baltimore Orioles who are playing better, but they're still not world beaters. They're not the Braves.
They're playing like they're second in the AL East right now, a very tough division. I still fully believe they're playing a bit above their skis
they're
a little bit
smoke and mirrors right now.
So like they got some good players and they're not a bad team, but they're a team that even if you lose the series, you should not get blown out in any of the 3 games.
They're not the Braves. They're not the Blue Jays or the Rays.
They're not a World Series contender.
No, they're not.
They're a good team, not a great team.
And then you've got the A's. And
a Ponzi scheme.
And then you've got the Chicago White Sox.
Also a Ponzi scheme.
They don't even try anymore. Luis Roberts.
No, they are like they're just. I feel bad for Pedro Grifol because Pedro finally gets the managerial job and he inherits that bummy ass of a team.
You gotta coach him up.
Pedro can do what he wants. They don't care.
Hey, attitude reflect leadership, sir.
What we're not gonna do is treat Pedro like that. What we're not gonna do is that.
So.
Also, not his fault. He just doesn't have any good players outside of 3.
So the Royals have 10 games against the O's, the A's, and the White Sox. Now,
man, I'm mad the White Sox don't have a single letter we could have done there.
I am trying to give this Royals team the benefit of the doubt. We very well could have the Royals funeral right now, but I'm gonna wait and see what happens these next 6 games. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
how they do against the Orioles and the A's from now until Monday the 8th, if you don't beat the A's, and honestly, if you don't win the series against the Orioles, you are looking at right now, let's say they just do what they did this last road trip.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, way to go. You won 3 games, but you didn't get swept. I mean, they won 1 game against the Angels, won 1 game against the Diamondbacks, and won 1 game against the Twins. They do the same thing in this series with the O's and the A's. They will be 5-13, essentially. No, 5-14. Beg your pardon. It's over. I will be done with the Royals when it comes to wins and losses, and will never ever talk about a win or a loss means anything right now. And our good friend Craig Brown, Dr. Craig, Baseball Writers Association, into the fountains. He put this on his most recent post. Meanwhile, the Royals are sleepwalking through the season. Their crime isn't just that they're bad at baseball, but they're boring. It's limp, lifeless, waving the white flag baseball. It's dreadfully dull. That's the Royals. Like, I've been trying to figure out what it is about this baseball team, and where they're struggling, and the biggest concerns. And maybe we'll get to that tomorrow or Wednesday, where it's like, all right, where have they really taken a step back from what we thought? Were the injuries to Waters, who, by the way, is doing a rehab assignment starting today? Were Waters and Lynch, those 2 guys, was that a big issue? Are the up and coming guys that we were hoping would take a step from their rookie seasons, that type of thing? Well, we can get to that at a later date. If you take Vinny Pasquantino off this lineup right now, they are boring. They're dull right now.
So,
I agree with Craig in this situation. The one guy that they got pitching right now who's actually entertaining is a guy who won't even be here probably shouldn't be here July 1st, with Aroldis Chapman coming in pumping 103. Like, Vinny P is fun to watch, man.
Yeah. No,
I will give him that. He is fun to watch, and he has made me some money on this 10-game road trip, because if you bet Vinny P getting hits and getting
you're pretty fine
bases, you are good to go. But outside of that, it is, like I mentioned, in the 7 games that they lost, they were only in 2 of them. The other 5 weren't close, and the offense is just, they're boring.
So here's what I'll say. I have 2 points I'd like to make here. First is this. If the Royals don't win the series against the Orioles, no one should be upset. They are 19-9. And yes, I think they're playing a bit in front of their skis. It is still not a shame to lose 2 of 3 to Baltimore. You can be upset if they get swept. They should be able to take at least 1. But if they lose to Baltimore, no one should start crying their eyes out. Like, Baltimore is 19-9. They have some legitimately good players. That's fine. Oakland is an entirely different story. I've made it very clear. If they don't at least minimum win the series, that is an abject failure. Because the Oakland Athletics are not a real team. And they are a fake team.
My retort to that, I'm not trying to be like confrontational or anything, is what's the A's record?
I think they have 6 wins to the Royals 7. I don't know how many losses are in their column.
The A's have the worst record in baseball. The Royals have the second worst record in baseball. So to me, how can you justify? Hold on. The A's are 6-23. The Royals are 7-22. To say, and the Royals are 1-12 at home. How can you say they should unequivocally beat a team 2 of 3 whom their record is the exact same.
So I want you to look at those two rosters and tell me which one has Major League Baseball players on it who are underperforming. Because the answer is Kansas City Royals. They have Major League players who just aren't playing well. Like, the Royals have good players who are just not playing. Bobby Witt Jr. is just not playing well.
Okay,
like,
and the reason we always talk about, okay, you get 40 games. We are approaching 40 games.
Yes.
Maybe this year, this is just who they are. They're not
and it
well.
might be, but like, that's my overall point though. Like, with the Royals, you can look at this team and go, there is a path for more wins if guys can figure some things out. I'm not saying they will. I'm not saying it's a bunch of wins, but there's a path to get better because of the raw talent of the individuals assembled on the team. You cannot say that about the Oakland Athletics. You cannot. They are bad because they are a AAA baseball team.
And
there is a stark difference.
And so then, how do the A's only have one fewer loss if we are saying they are so bad, but for the Royals, we're like...
Because the A's have been trounced in a bunch of games. The Royals have yacked away games. Like, the Royals have yacked... Like, some of the Royals' losses could have been wins if they had not yacked them away. Some of them are losses because the Royals battled back but could not finish the comeback. You cannot say that about the Oakland Athletics. Their losses are not, oh, well, we had a lead and then we gifted up and, oh, if only a couple things, but differently. No, the A's just stink. Like, yes, there is one difference in the win-loss column between the A's and the Royals. But if you watch those two teams play the game of baseball, if you watch those two teams play, they're two different teams. And this is why wins and losses early in the season cannot tell you a complete picture. They can't. Because, yes, in the win-loss column, you go, man, the A's and Royals separated by one game. I assume they're both bad teams. The A's, we talk about how bad the Royals pitching staff has been, and the starting rotations really faltered. Mm-hmm. The A's are a full 2 runs worse. Like, the A's may have only one less win. They are objectively a far worse ball club overall. Because the Royals' problem is that they can't close or finish games or finish comebacks. I mean, look at the stretch they just played. They were in 2 of the 3 games against the Angels. They won the 11-8 comeback. They were in that 4-3 loss, but could not complete the comeback. They should have beaten the Diamondbacks on Monday. Yacked it away. They won the game on the second matchup. That was good. Then they got dominated by Zach Gallen. The Zach Gallen Shohei games didn't have a chance because they were facing 2 of the best pitchers in baseball. Mm-hmm. You go to the Minnesota series. Lost 7-1 in game 1. You know what? Truly, you ain't got a chance in that one. That 8-6 comeback, they had a chance. They didn't complete it, and there's other problems there, but they had a chance. They win the second one 3-2. Yesterday, 8-4. They lost that because Brady Singer had the biggest implosion I've ever seen. Like, so, and that's the difference.
My retort is, okay, the A's beat the Reds 5-4. They were in the game against the Reds 3-2. So
yeah, the Reds.
I'm looking at 3-2. Oh, then they lost 11-7. Oh, the Angels, same team, right? Hey, they lost 8-7. They were in the game against the Angels. Well, they went up against the Angels. The Angels, got them, and it was 11-3. Oh, they beat the Angels 11-10. See, they can score some runs. See, to me, and you are more optimistic about this team than I am. We know that. I'm until I get to the point where wins and losses don't count, and I'm almost there. We're probably a week away. You can do the same thing. Oh, they lost 5-3. The A's were in that game with the Angels. Like the process, results, all of that type of discussion. Same thing. They beat the Rangers 5-4. Got smoked by the Rangers. Hey, the Royals did that. Then they were kind of in the game against the Rangers 5-2. They had a chance. Like, to me, and I did not watch any of these games. I am just going strictly by the box score there. It's hard for me to say that the Royals should unequivocally. Do I think they can win the series? Yes. But if you're a team, and I don't care who your players are, from what have we played? 30 games. Through 30 games, there's not a whole lot separating the Royals and the A's outside of about 3 big blowouts. The A's lost a game 18-3 and 12-2 and 10-1. You take those 3 games out when it comes to run differential, that's 30 runs right there. We're not all that far apart from the Royals. I agree with you. The Royals are a better team, but that better team ain't getting it done.
No.
And that's why, like, losing, if they lose the series to the O's, I'm with you. Not a huge deal, which is why I'm not putting the fork in them right now. The problem is that this is now the 5th consecutive series that you will lose. Eventually, you gotta at least find something in there and say, hey, you just can't keep losing until we get to that spot. They're just, I really like Vinny Pasquantino.
Yeah, so do I.
He's great.
I like Eduardo Olivares. I like Nick Prado.
Man, if Olivares could just field a ball.
Hey, if he keeps hitting like this, he doesn't need to field.
He's hitting it well.
As I've always worded it, he needs to hit well enough to make up for the fact that he can't field a baseball.
Nick Prado, that was kind of nice.
Yeah, almost as if quoting a batting average in April is a really stupid thing to do.
Yeah, he hit the ball a couple times.
Some people are morons.
Well, right now,
Listen, all I'm asking for is more intelligent baseball discourse, and I don't know why I can't get it. Because I don't know why around this team I cannot get almost so many people to have an intelligent conversation.
Because they're 7 and 20.
That is no excuse for using bad faith arguments and not using your brains. That's not an excuse.
But that's the general public.
I know, and I'm still going to be mad about it.
Well, you're going to be mad about it for me when I when I talk on Monday going, I don't care about the Royals anymore.
Yes.
If they lose every game by 800.
No, listen, I'm actually going to be very happy once you stop caring about wins and losses, because then I can finally get you to start seeing that development's good.
No, but I was told that the Royals are going to be competitive. I was told that at the beginning of this year, and they're not. So I can be upset that they're not winning games.
Correct.
You
can be upset they're not being competitive.
Yes, because I was told they are trying to win.
Yes.
You should not be upset if you're an A's fan if you lose, because they're not trying to win.
You should be upset as an A's fan because your team's being stolen from you.
Well, that's a whole nother topic.
But I get your point.
I'm just flat out saying we were told that the Royals are going to be competitive.
Yes,
we are going
to be upset that they have not been competitive in enough games.
And they suck. They're 7 and 22, one of the worst starts in the history of the franchise. I can be upset about that. And then
you are allowed to be upset about that.
Once their season is over, which will be probably on Monday, it might be Friday if they get swept by the O's and lose. It might be over. At that point in time where I'm just completely fed up with them. And then Royals baseball will be, like, if it's on, it's on. If it's not, it's not. Let me look at a box score. Hey, did Bobby Witt, did he do well? Did certain guys do well? And then that's all that matters. And they can lose 140 games for all I care. And it won't matter.
Well, if they lose 140 games, you're going to need to find a new co-host.
Why?
I will be MIA.
Affect you that much.
I will be MIA.
You can't let them affect you. By the way, they're on pace for like a 130 loss season. Coming up next, everyone loves the list. I think they hit it, right? Like 130 loss season.
I'm not an on pace guy in April.
I am. Coming up next, we'll go with best draft picks in the NFL. Dylan loves the list, and we'll have to speed through this. But we're going to go with best individual draft picks in this NFL draft. And you can go, round, value, whatever, best fit, just best pick. What do you got?
Number 4 for me, Marvin Mims to Denver. That's a good spot with a good value.
I went with Dalton Kincaid, Buffalo, man. They got some guys there, and if Kincaid can be that cat, man, you can throw out 4 weapons out there. That's impressive.
You really can. For me, number 3, Nolan Smith. Getting him at 30 was ridiculous for Philly.
I went with Julius Brents.
That's a good spot.
I like Julius Brents for the Colts. I think he's going to be a good NFL player, and you get him in the second round. I like Julius Brents. I think that's a great pick.
I'm with you. Number 2 for me, Pittsburgh got Darnell Washington in the late 3rd. That is ridiculous. That's good for Pittsburgh. Darnell Washington, fantastic spot.
My number 2, Jalen Carter of the Eagles. Man, there's a lot of teams. Seattle might be missing out on that one. I think the Bears might be missing out on that one. There's a lot of teams that you're going to go damn.
Number 1, simple. Michael Mayer went to Detroit as the 3rd tight end off the board. That's insane.
He went to the Raiders.
Raiders. Sorry, Raiders. Yeah. Either way. Oh, yeah, Detroit screwed up with Sam Laporte. You know what I mean. Still, Mayer there.
Best wide receiver in this draft got drafted 20th. Jackson Smith and Jigba to the Seahawks. I think is a phenomenal pick. He is a stud. I think people will regret not taking Jackson Smith and Jigba. Coming up next, we're going to hear from Brett Veach. Spoke with the media today to recap the NFL draft. Brett Veach, man, he loves the draft. There are draft people, and then there's like Brett Veach and those type of guys. He's a talker. All right, Andy Reid,
Yeah, he is.
not so much. We'll get to a little bit of what Clark Hunt had to say later on this week, but Brett Veach met with the media earlier today. We'll get some reaction coming up in the 2:00 hour, but he had a lot of things to say, trading up, selecting need versus fit, all of that. Does mention a few things about Jerick McKinnon. Looks like he is going to re-sign with the Kansas City Chiefs. The NFL's top red zone target coming back, as he caught like 9 touchdowns last year. So here is what Brett Veach had to say to the media earlier today.
Everyone at the NFL League office, to the mayor's office, to Kathy Nelson, the Sports Commission, just what an awesome 3-day event here. And I think Kansas City should be proud of what they accomplished this past weekend. Additionally, I want to give a big shout out to my staff, my personnel staff, coaching staff, for really going after it hard after the parade, right into the pre-combine meetings, to the combine, to the free agency process, to the pro days. Get us up to speed and get us where we need it to be. Certainly excited by how this weekend turned out, and adding 7 new draft picks to our football team, along with a handful of talented free agents. So look forward to seeing these guys this week and getting them up and running and helping us this 2023 season. So with that, I'll take your questions.
Brett, a couple questions real quick. Just first of all, the trade climate, as far as being able to move up when you did. I know you did several times. Were there opportunities? Were there options for you to trade back? And do you give any consideration for that? And Brad, I'll have a quick follow-up as well.
Yeah, I think, and I think I kind of hinted at this on Thursday night. Saran, I think, our staff, I mean, we're aggressive, and, we build our board and we believe in our board. And if there's a range that we feel makes sense for us, I mean, we'll certainly explore that. And we did that Thursday night, and we explained some trade opportunities. And I think the window just from 18 to say 22, 23 was just a little bit uncomfortable for us because, we do believe in our board, but at the same time, we do believe in obviously a volume of good players, and it's a long season. You have to have depth on both sides. So there was a lot of things we wanted to get accomplished this week. So we explored that. And when the price was a little bit too high for us, we still explored 24 to, 26, 27. At that time, no one wanted to trade. So we had a window there where we inquired, and again, the price was a little bit too high. And then after that, there was no teams, wanting to trade. These teams wanted to pick. There was a small move there from Buffalo and Jacksonville, but didn't get any feedback from the rest of those teams. So we were content because we had a player in Felix that we liked, and then we were able to do some maneuvering the next couple of days.
And then the follow-up is, did it seem like there was a wide variance of what the picks were being valued at? Like in some cases, we saw some, picks that seemed to have a lot that went into it. In other ones, it seemed like, a fourth rounder, if you go by some of the charts, that seemed like they were maybe discounted. Did it really vary dependent upon the teams? And did it surprise you a little bit that some were asking for so high when some others seemed to be low?
I think it's, you see it every year where, and when we go into a draft, we have the historical trends of what has been traded for this pick or that pick throughout the course of the year. And we utilize those when we're talking to teams, 3, 4, 5 picks prior to our selection. But also that gets adjusted in real time. Well, hey, this guy just went for this or that, but it really depends on the team and their motivation to move down and the team's motivation to move up. So if a team is there, I think typically teams are doing a number count in their head. And if they aren't comfortable selecting a player they want or are really confident they're going to get them just a few picks later, they sometimes take lesser value just to acquire another pick. But these things change, and it just depends on how motivated the seller and the buyer are.
Thanks, Brad. I'll have a quick follow-up too. Brett, I'm specifically referring to the wide receiver spot. Andy obviously uses a lot of those guys. So how much do you look at what you currently have on the roster versus just getting the guy that's at the top of your board if you had a blank slate of no wide receivers on the roster?
I think we take a little of everything into account. I think at the end of the day, I think we're just trying to add talent to the roster at all these positions. And I think the cool thing about Coach is he's going to highlight their skill set and get the most out of them. And so I think that's the value in staying true to the board. Let's find a guy we like. Let's tear him. Let's stack him. Let's stay true to the board. Let's get good players here, and then allow Coach and his offensive staff to do their thing and just put these guys in the best position possible to utilize their skill set.
Then obviously you go into the draft, you don't know exactly what positions you're going to wind up with your 7 picks. So now that you do have that information, what do you envision is sort of left to accomplish before you hit training camp here?
I mean, we're always trying to improve this roster, and we'll continue to monitor the names that are on the streets. And there'll be a handful of guys that have mini camp invites, or I should say rookie mini camp invites. And we'll get a list of those names. And if we can improve the 90th person on our roster, we'll do that. And that will be no different to how we approach this summer. We'll get into training camp, and we'll start logging the tape on the preseason games and the position battles there. And so I feel like we have a competitive roster that can go out there and compete to win games, but I also feel like there's always room to improve, and we'll continue to do that from now until the end of the cutdown day.
Brett, before the draft, you talked about the tackle positions, kind of a changing of the guard for you there, and how you leaving it open for Jawan to maybe shift to left, stay at right. What does injecting Morris into that equation mean for right tackle, left tackle? You guys feel like it'll be Taylor at left and you'll figure out right, or is it just still you're going to try and mix and match here?
I think there'll be a degree of mixing and matching. I'm sure it's safe to say that as we sit here today, Taylor will be able to go out there and run left tackle with the ones, and then I think we'll have good competition between Niang and as you mentioned, Wanya just brought Wanya in here, and then Kennard I think has some flexibility too. So I think all three of those guys will bounce in there, and I think all at least for sure, Kennard will go back and forth to tackle and guard, and I think Wanye has some tackle guard flex. So I think you'll see Coach Eck do a great job of just mixing and matching, and then when we get training camp, just let the competition speak for itself.
Hey, Brett, now that the draft is concluded, just where do you feel confidence-wise that you can get an extension done with Chris Jones between now and the start of training camp? Well,
I don't until you get a deal done. I don't know in this league if you're ever confident with anything, but I think that's on the list of things to do. And we get into the off season, and you're into combine meetings, and then you're into free agency, and then you're into the draft, and then after the draft, let the dust settle and start working on the future and things we can get accomplished in the spring. So we'll spend time, and obviously we have a great relationship with Chris and his staff, so we'll get to work and see what we can do. And those things usually take a little bit of time here, so we have a little bit of a runway now until the start of training camp to hopefully get something done.
Hey, Brett, wanted to ask you about wide receiver and what kind of jump and roll, if you will, you see from Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney this year. And I want to throw Rashee Rice in there. What kind of role do you see for him as well? And Brad, I'll have a second question.
Well, I think all three of those guys are extremely talented and versatile. These are guys that you can do some different things with. Certainly excited to add Rashee to this mix here. He was the guy that the contested catch and the run after the catch was something that really stood out. And we did lose Juju, and I think it makes sense to find a guy that can do a lot of things that he can do in the inside game, and he's almost like a running back after the catch. And Sky's done a tremendous job of getting better and improving. We saw that throughout the course of last year, and he went through a lot of adversity, but the kid, his mental resiliency is awesome. And look forward for him to take the next step. And everyone knows about Kadarius and how talented he is, and Kadarius can do anything on the field. He can line up inside, outside, running back, quarterback. I mean, he can do it all. He was quarterback back in his day. So again, we just like to put talent out in the field, and coach will find ways to put these guys in different positions and different formations and different sets. And you throw that group in there with a bunch of talent we have at tight end. I let the coaches do their thing, but all three of those guys, we're really excited about.
Okay, and also I asked you about this couple of weeks ago, but now the deadline is here or almost here. Just wanted to see where you are with Clyde on that 5th-year option.
Yeah, and with the draft just being over now, that's another thing that will get addressed here soon. And we're excited though for Clyde this season. Actually, he was the first guy I saw in the building today, in tremendous shape. So he's a good football player. He's going to help us out here. And again, with these guys that we have a list of things to do with a bunch of these guys, and now that the draft is officially ended, in the next coming weeks, now's the time when we go through all that stuff and start making our plans for the future. But needless to say, we're excited to have him back in the building today, and look forward to hopefully a healthy 2023 campaign from him.
Hey, Brett, I wanted to ask you about, you traded up in the 2nd round, the 3rd round, and the 4th round. Can you just speak through the decision making on each of those and what went into that?
Yeah, it's just identifying the board. It's one of those things where we're spending a ton of time on this board. We're spending, countless numbers of hours, and we do that because, this is the process. And when we identify talent, we're able to look at that board and know that, all right, when we're in a certain range, we really like this guy. And if you look below this guy, there's a big drop off. So when we get aggressive, it's because, we spend all the time watching these guys, and we feel like the drop off, or potentially they're not. He could be the last guy that we value in regards to a guy coming in and helping us year one. So when you identify that, you got to trust your board and trust all the work that you put in. It's kind of blending the two concepts. On one end, yeah, you have to. There is that lotto aspect where you have to throw a bunch of numbers at this, but at the same time, we wouldn't be doing our job if we didn't set the board, spend all that time doing the work. And if we believe in a guy, you can't risk losing those guys. And there was a handful of guys this past weekend that we were trying to trade up for and didn't work out, and they went. And that's the way this works. So you got to believe in your board, you got to believe in your scouts, but you have to do so. You can't be reckless. You got to take calculated risks. And I think you saw that. We took a stab to get up there in round one. We couldn't. And so we played it smart. But then when we had windows of guys that we just didn't think there were like components of or similar value, we went ahead and made those moves. And then when we were sitting there in a position where we felt the competition or the value, or I should say the skill set was all similar, we traded out of that one pick and we got a future pick from Dallas. So I think it's just, blending, the volume concept and also the belief in the board and just getting guys you like.
Hey, Brett. I know you said Thursday night that you found some reluctance with AFC teams to trade with you guys, that they weren't interested or they were asking for exorbitant prices. And it looked like that changed a little over the weekend. But I just wonder if you can distinguish this year from past years in terms of teams, especially rival teams, being willing to cooperate in the draft, and if that tone has changed a little bit with the success of the last few years.
I don't know. I feel like all these drafts kind of work out the same way. And it all comes down to just the motivation between the buyer and the seller. And if guys, depending on the teams and the needs and how you never know how teams value other players and where they have them on their board. And if they think they can get a similar player later, I'd like to think, all these teams operate from what's best for the team. And if they think staying there and adding a player that they can't get later is the best thing, they do it. And if they think there's a like component, or maybe they're not as high on a pocket of players, then they move down. I don't think that, I know from my standpoint, I've never made a call or taken a call from another team and said, well, that might be better for them. I think I always operate from what's best for us. And to me, all these teams have the same name when it comes to draft day. If they have a pick I want, or if they're trying to, come up and they, want to pick from us, I just look at the value and how does it make us better? Because at the end of the day, we're competing against all these teams.
Hey, Brett, looking at your last couple of drafts versus the first couple, when you look at metrics like RAS score and some of the other athletic matrices that are out there, these are much more athletic classes. How much of that is intentional as far as, the role of analytics playing and stacking your draft board maybe than it was 5 or 6 years ago?
I think it's just an evolution of just trying to get better every draft and every acquisition period. I think we've always did a good job of blending the tape and making sure that we utilize analytics to make sure that we don't miss anything. We're always crossing T's and dotting I's. And so then I think it's just a matter of just fine tuning that process over the years and making sure that we can be more locked in and better informed in all of our decision-making processes. So I'd like to think that we've always done this, but also at the same time, I think we spent a lot of effort just, doing a lot of self-reflection and being very critical of how we do things and just learning from the process. But, analytics will always play a role in what we do, and we believe in it. And we also believe in the outstanding work our scouts do throughout the course of the year. So it's really just every year just trying to, fine tune this process and get better and better and better.
Running back, last year you got Isaiah in the 7th round, didn't address that position. Is that a signal that you guys are still, that Jarek's maybe still in play? And what did you like about Deneric Prince, who you guys reportedly are signing as a UDFA?
Well, yeah, obviously we have a longstanding relationship with Jarek, and we've had communication, so I wouldn't be surprised if something got done with him soon. And as far as Prince, he's a guy that we're excited about. He's a big kid that can really run. He ran one of the fastest 40 times at the combine. Has done a good job over the years of working on the pass game, and so he's again another talented kid that we're excited to bring in here, and we're excited about Isaiah's second year, and obviously he had a breakout season last year, and then potentially adding a guy like Jarek, and then as I mentioned, Clyde was one of the first guys that I saw in the building today. So, we believe in that room. It's a good room, and certainly Prince is going to come in here and compete for playing time and possibly roster spot there.
And I know you were asked earlier about, Pat's deal, obviously in light of, the Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts signings. In terms of timing, do you guys want to wait till like the Burrow and Herbert extensions get done or new contracts get done? How do you guys kind of see that playing out?
Well, the draft just ended here, and I think Coach got asked about it. I got asked about it. And Clark got asked about it there. So, we're a few years into a long deal, but at the same time, we have great communication with Pat, and so there'll be a situation where we work through all these things. And there's no timing on it from our end just because we're in constant communication.
What'd you like about him? And at this early juncture, what's the kind of role you envision for a player like him?
Sorry, man, I missed the first part. It kind of muted out there.
Chamari Connor, just your thoughts on him and why you selected him.
Just a versatile defensive back. I mean, he's a guy that can play free safety, can play down low at the strong safety position. He also has some big nickel flex. I think he's a guy that can come down the box and cover some athletic tight ends. And he's a big kid, really smart. You talking about a 2-3 year captain there, does everything the right way. We're just really excited to add him. And he was, one of those guys like, obviously we were super high in Rasheed and we didn't want to get too cute with him. And Connor was a guy that, I mean, it was right there with him and Wanye in the third round. And I was talking to his agent today, just congratulating him. And I mean, the values are right there. And then when we had a chance, and this goes about being selectively aggressive. And then, we selected Wanye, and I mean, it could have easily been the Virginia Tech safety. And then we get back in round 4 and you're sitting there. And once you get into that window where, I mean, this makes sense for us and he's going to be gone pretty soon. We went up there to get him. But I think, Matt, why you like this kid is because he's extremely versatile. He's long, he's athletic. I think he ran 4.4 at the combine, but has some free end safety flex. Should be a great special team contributor day one. And at the same time, I think there's also some nickel flex, some big nickel flex to match up with some of these athletic tight ends these teams have throughout the league.
That is what Brett Veach had to say to the media today. Talked on a lot of different topics. Some interesting stuff there, especially on the draft, trading up, trading back. We'll get to that coming up in the 2 o'clock hour. Got a little overreaction, proper reaction. We'll recap the draft. And are the Chiefs turning heel? We'll get to that as well. Taking Fulton, final hour on this Monday. We'll get to overreaction, proper reaction, talk more about the Chiefs draft. No Royals baseball today. They, when you don't win double-digit games in the month of April, you don't play on May 1st. That is what apparently I have come to conclude. So the Royals, who went 7-22 in the month of April, are off today on this May 1st. Good old May Day. Is that still a thing? Do people still do May Day?
Was that ever a thing?
Oh, yeah. May baskets were a thing when I was growing up.
Okay, cool, because they then were definitely not a thing when I grew up.
Okay.
At least for me personally. I won't lump every single person on my age group into my experiences because that's wrong. But for me personally, no idea.
But did any of your friends do
Nope.
it? Like none of your neighbors
Nope.
did it? So May Day is like not a thing anymore.
At least for me and the experiences I've had in my life.
What about here recently?
Nope.
I need the text line right now to let me know, is May Day and May Day baskets a thing? Is that going on right now? Because in the early to mid 90s, it still was a thing around my neighborhood. You used construction paper and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
785-272-9429. Do anybody's kid, now I'm not like you don't right now because you're a grown adult, but do anybody's kids do May Day baskets? Is that no longer a thing? I forgot it was May 1st today. And then I was destroyed with the NSYNC "It's Gonna Be May" social media onslaught.
Happens.
It does. Which allows me to bring another point that NSYNC was way better than the Backstreet Boys. Team NSYNC. Where do you fall on that?
Oh, both are fine.
You didn't favor one or the other?
Not really.
I mean, you were like 3 when they were popular, so that doesn't really count.
Yeah, probably.
That doesn't really count.
My
my
sisters had Backstreet Boys CDs.
Yeah.
So that's what they were. I guess
They
that's
were
what they had to have an allegiance.
Yeah, okay.
I don't remember us having NSYNC CDs in the house, but we did have Backstreet Boys CDs.
Yeah. Lindsay, my wife, she was Team Backstreet Boys.
Okay.
So, but as a individual,
I can name you one member of either group.
Okay.
I can give you Justin Timberlake.
Okay.
Do not ask me to name any other member of either of those groups.
Okay.
Oh, wait. Is Joey Fatone one of those?
Yes.
Okay, I can name 2.
Which one was he on? Which group was he in?
NSYNC, I don't know.
He was with NSYNC.
Good, I got it right.
As a man who
then maybe
grew
I
up,
couldn't name you a single Backstreet Boy.
As a man who grew up in that era, I was Team NSYNC, and they had way better songs, by the way. But
Sure.
anyways, it is May 1st. So someone out there, text
Listen,
in.
you say
I
that
just need to know.
NSYNC had Bye Bye Bye, which is still a bop.
That's what I'm saying. They had better songs. Yeah.
I thought you said you're a Backstreet Boy guy.
No.
Oh, I heard you wrong. I'm sorry, I misheard
Team
you. I
NSYNC
apologize.
all the way.
I apologize. I misheard you.
Yeah,
Then.
I was Team NSYNC.
That's why I was
Yeah.
confused. I was like, man, Jake.
Yeah, my wife
NSYNC had some bangers.
Team Backstreet Boys. I was Team NSYNC. Yeah, Team NSYNC. But if Mayday baskets are a thing, somebody Text into the text line. I need to
We
know.
have someone from the 785 who says it's still a thing, but exceedingly rare. They have one neighbor's kids who still do it.
Okay.
We also have someone from the 620 says this is the first time I've ever heard of Mayday.
Really? I mean, we used to do the whole thing where you'd, leave a Mayday basket on the porch, ring the doorbell, and run away. Do the whole thing, man.
So there's a ding-dong ditching element of Mayday?
Yeah, then you like try to track them down. Yeah. Like
So okay,
Yeah,
okay.
it's the whole thing.
We're going off the rails for a minute. I don't care what was being planned here. Okay, I gotta understand
Yeah.
this. So the point of Mayday was you made some kind of what'd you put in the basket?
like candy or something like that.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's like an Easter theme with it apparently of candy in a basket.
Yeah.
Did you think of just random people? Did you have a specific target you were going for?
It was normally like your neighbor.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you put it on their doorstep and you ding dong ditch them?
Yeah. Like
that's it?
Yeah, we used to.
What is this?
And then you tried to like run them down. So what it is you took like a construction paper and you folded it into like a cone.
Okay.
And then like technically what you did is you cut it.
Okay.
Okay. And then you had a small piece, lengthwise of the construction plate paper, from it's like a piece of paper.
Yeah.
And then I bet you I can construct one here real quick for you. And then you took the piece that you cut off, and that was the handle.
Okay.
And you glued it in there.
Okay.
So it's like it looked like this.
Okay, it's the little cone with the handle.
Yeah,
on
yeah.
it.
And then you had the hand. The one that
Okay.
you cut off, and then no one can see this because this is not a visual medium unless you're looking. And then you filled it with some stuff, and then you went to somebody's house and you ring the doorbell and then you ran away. It was a Mayday basket. Yeah. Yeah, this is what it looked like.
Did y'all just have nothing better to do? Or...
No, this was the 90s when our lives were awesome and social media didn't ruin everybody's life. We actually, hot take, the 90s were the best generation. The late 80s, early 90s, best generation. Best generation. Because we had technology and we could use it, but we really didn't. And social media just ruined everything. Yeah. I stand by that.
Okay.
Yeah, Mayday baskets. I'm glad to know some people still do it.
Sure. This made this entire thing seem strange to me.
Now I got to ask Dan and Brennan at the commercial break if they've ever do it or ever had Mayday baskets, that type of thing. I had a good time with it.
You make a basket, you make a cone out of construction paper.
Yeah, that's cool.
You leave it on someone's doorstep.
Yeah.
And you ding dong ditch.
Yeah, and then you try to track them down. Yeah, it's awesome. You got this is
okay.
Mayday baskets.
Okay. I mean, as far as holidays go, this is a very harmless one.
There's another thing that you millennials ruined. No one does Mayday baskets anymore. Something fun that we created.
Yeah, brother, let me tell you, there's not a single neighbor that I would have wanted to leave a basket for.
You did, man. I had a great neighborhood, man. We had.
Here's the thing.
Hold
Jake.
on a second. Hold on, real quick. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 houses that had kids all my age. So it was awesome. Shout out Wynn Road, baby.
We got someone else in from the 785. Their grade school students created Mayday posters last week. They substitute teach first graders.
Nice.
Okay, we're getting more thoughts in
so
here.
it isn't gone. All right. Good.
We're getting more people with some thoughts in here. We appreciate you. Yeah, the problem is, Jake, as things have gone on, the concept of a friendly neighborhood has deteriorated.
Well, you didn't do it, and this was what 12 years difference between you and me. Because we did it when we were growing up.
Yeah.
Also from the text line, in the mid 80s, it was an orchestrated event in my neighborhood. Yeah, like it was a thing. Like everybody did it. It was a thing. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
And it was awesome.
The world is very much different now than the one you grew up in.
I know it is. I know.
Not conducive to these types of activities.
Yeah, my neighborhood it was awesome. Yeah. Great time. We always, and that's when you want to know where people were instead of calling around and messaging people. No, you rode your bike around and found out where everybody was at with all the bikes in the front yard. That's where the people were. Man, those were the days. Anyways, Mayday. Shout out if you still do it. We need to bring it back.
I don't know if we do, Jake.
No, we should. It was a better time back then. Way better time.
So you have your hot take that was the best time to grow up in. I have an equal hot take here. Everyone thinks the time they grow up in is better because nostalgia does that to you.
Oh, zero facts. I guarantee you right now, nowadays, way less fun. Way less fun. Because they don't have Mayday basket. We had him, I'm telling you.
Because Jake's generation in Mayday baskets, that makes his generation's youth growing up a better time.
Yeah, way better. Way better. Are the Chiefs ready to turn heel? Because there's a lot of people on social media who are not happy with how they viewed the draft as a second Chiefs party. When Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce came out on stage with the Lombardi trophy before the first pick was even read, there were a lot of people who were not happy about this. A lot of people. And I hope that the Chiefs realize that they have won so much that even though Patrick Mahomes has not done anything wrong, he hasn't done the decision, because prior to the decision, LeBron could do no wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Then he made the decision and people just crapped on him like
Kevin Durant
everything.
for a while could do no wrong. Then he went to the Warriors.
You know, even Steph for a time.
Then Steph started winning a bunch.
When he started winning a bunch, and then he did his little shimmy after he made a three.
And people didn't like
People
that.
didn't like it. Now you've got Kelce, you know.
They don't like you when you're at the top.
And you know, now
it's lonely up here.
The Patriots a little different because the Patriots,
they cheated.
They did, right? And so
that's what really turned on them is they cheated.
And then they kept on winning.
Yes.
But people,
because they might have been cheating more.
People don't like, you know, the cocky, arrogant, you know, they want the act like you've been there before crowd.
Listen, everyone will talk about dynasties and maybe in a positive tone until one gets created. And then people get tired real fast.
So
people don't like the same winners for too long.
And I think they saw Mahomes out there like, why is he out there? Why is the guy? Because if you recall, all the other places that have hosted the draft, they didn't do any of that. Now,
because they hadn't won anything.
They didn't win the title.
Hard to have that kind of celebration in Chicago when it's done with the Bears.
I mean, it was just a little bit more than 60 days ago.
Hard to have the party like that in Nashville when the Titans don't win a damn thing.
You know, and so Clark Hunt met with the media afterwards, and then even when the draft wasn't finished yet, you had the 3 Lombardi trophies out there.
Yeah, you did.
You had Clark Hunt out there, and he was enjoying everything, and people got a little upset about it. And Clark Hunt was asked about that on Friday, and this is what Clark Hunt had to say Friday evening about kind of the celebration continuing.
So it was a very unique situation to have the Super Bowl champion Chiefs drafting last in the first round. And it was a conversation that took place between our staff and the league office. And the league office thought it would be neat to close the draft with something that was very Chiefs focused, like they had opened the draft with a Chiefs vibe with Patrick and Kelce out there on stage.
So it was the NFL's idea. Now, are all the people who are upset and angry about it going to deal in nuance? No, that's not how our society works anymore. Another reason why back in the 90s it was better. We actually had nuance and we didn't give a care about what other people said on social media. And kind of like what Mike Tyson said is y'all saying too much stuff without, any repercussions. That's another reason why. But anyways, then Clark was asked, was it a too Chiefs-centric of a draft?
No, I haven't heard that yet. And
then he's not on social media. Is the problem there, Clark? And granted, if I was a billionaire, I wouldn't be on social media either, to be honest with you. But here is what Clark had to say about, have you heard or seen it that it was too Chiefs-centric of a draft?
no, I haven't heard that yet. And I'm betting that I don't hear that here in Kansas City. It'll be interesting, maybe a few months down the road, whether it is. Again, I think it just, ties back to the uniqueness of us being the Super Bowl champion. And, that was just a few months ago. So the timing was really good. It's a great way to extend our celebration.
I have no problem with it. One, because I am a Chiefs fan, but two, I also try to, be a realist. Like, I get it. It's, you just won the title. I understand it, but, and then Travis Kelce, was it Friday or Saturday that he came out, did the Lombardi luge with the beer, and then spiked the fake Lombardi trophy on stage? Like, people, I wonder if people realize that the Chiefs fan base also, and this is every fan base, unless you're like the Pirates or somebody, who they're going to let you know who won. Like that's fan bases nowadays because of social media, and people get in their feelings because they see something that they don't like. And a lot of fans, which is a term for fanatic, all right, which can mean crazy. They go a little overboard, and you get upset. Like, Bengals fans not happy, Eagles fans not happy. I hope Chiefs fans realize that, honestly, they put out a great wrestling promo.
Oh yeah, they did.
As a
made the heart happy.
As kind of the villain, where they walked out and Patrick Mahomes. The only reason the Chiefs right now are not universally loathed is because Patrick Mahomes is such a good guy. I can get why, like a lot of people on Twitter and social media calling Travis Kelce a Gronk wannabe, oh, he wants to be a Gronk wannabe. He's not Gronk, right? Andy Reid is just, he's not out in the media. He keeps such a low profile. He's not like Bill Belichick, right? I just look at this as, if Patrick Mahomes wasn't the nice guy and little bit of a nerd, I think it would be different. I really do. And people also hate the Chiefs for how much they goo and gaga over Mahomes on just how great he is. And they get sick and tired of it. The most is you see him make a throw, and then it's an incredible throw. We're so used to it. We're spoiled. And I understand that. But then if somebody else makes a throw like that, the term, that we see is, well, if Mahomes did that, we wouldn't stop hearing about that for like 3 weeks, right?
Yeah.
But I think because he's such a nice guy, whereas if it was like Jay Cutler doing that, oh my gosh, everybody would hate the Chiefs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I hope people realize this next year, everybody is good. Like when the Jets play the Chiefs, everyone's going to want the Jets to win. Like,
Well, man, I don't know that you're pitting the Chiefs and the hatred people have for them against Aaron Rodgers.
That is
now.
True.
Like that
true.
one's like,
that's about it. The Bengals,
yeah,
or the Bills,
yeah,
or the Chargers.
Yeah, like
I've
been talking about this a ton lately, and I get it. Not everybody, wants to, can find ways to deal with it in more of a positive, affirming way when people want you to fail.
Correct.
They get caught up in the oh my goodness, why do you dislike us? Look at us. What have we done wrong? And all this. I keep telling y'all to just embrace being the heel a little bit here, because that's what the Chiefs have entered, and it's not going to change for the foreseeable future. And it's just because they keep winning. And I'm trying to present that to any non-Chiefs listeners we might have in the least arrogant way I can. But that's the thing. You have 2 Super Bowls under Patrick Mahomes in, what is the 6 years?
Yeah.
If I can never seem to get the math right.
Been to 3 of them.
They've been to 3. They've won 2. They've hosted every AFC championship game at Arrowhead since Patrick Mahomes has been the starter since 2018. No one has done that before.
And they were essentially 2 plays away from going to 5 straight Super Bowls.
They were inches away in the 2 times they haven't gone to a Super Bowl. In 2018, they nearly knocked off Tom Brady when everyone wanted the Chiefs to do it because they were the scrappy underdogs.
Yeah.
They were taking down the big bad Death Star. And then D Ford, your name is still a curse in some areas of Kansas City. And Bob Sutton, too.
Is it?
D Ford, not as much. Bob Sutton, still. At least to me.
That's interesting.
But, that's what happens in 2018.
Yeah.
They're close but can't get it. Then you get the Bengals game to where, honestly, Mahomes plays his worst half of football ever. They implode.
Second goal from the 4, and they don't score a touchdown.
They implode.
Yeah.
You take away those 2 things, they would have gone to 5 consecutive. And even outside of that, though, to beat a 2 and have won 3 in the past 4 years. In the past 4 years, the Chiefs have been to 3 of the 4 Super Bowls and won 2 of them.
Yeah.
People get tired of that. Everyone in sports, we all got to recognize this. You only like consistent winners for a very short period. And very quickly, that shine rubs all the way off. And you're like, all right, let's, when the Warriors first were winning titles in the NBA, everyone was like, man, Steph's going crazy. It's awesome. Look at them keep winning. They won 73 games in the regular season. They beat the 72-10 Bulls to go to 73-9. Oh, my goodness. How quickly it turned to, okay, can we just stop letting them win? Can someone beat them? Oh, good Lord. I don't want to deal with them anymore. And now, if you watch, though, the shine has come back to Golden State a little bit because they stopped winning. Kansas City right now, and Chiefs fans, you have to accept this. Here's what I've embraced it. You're going to be disliked for a while. Your team is. Not you personally. Your team is. Your team is going to be disliked. People are going to try to find ways to knock them. They're going to find ways to insult the team because they keep winning.
Now, I will say this.
That's what it is.
Andy Reid
hilarious.
Andy Reid has no heel in him. Absolutely
no, and it's kind of a bummer.
No, and here's the other thing.
For me, it is.
Patrick Mahomes, deep down inside, has a little bit
he's got a little of that Jordan in him.
Because the whole, 1, 2, 3.
It is never going to be boiled fully to the surface, but he's got that there.
He does, but he also likes to be the nice guy.
Yeah,
and
he's always going to be the nice guy.
That's the reason why that the Chiefs will never, ever fully embrace the heel.
And it's why they'll probably never be hated on the level of the Patriots dynasty was.
That's because people like Patrick Mahomes, people dislike Tom Brady.
Yeah, no, and that surely is the difference a little bit. But man, this team has shown you they may not outwardly say it a bunch, but they internalize when everyone starts. We all remember Travis Kelce after the AFC title game, running up to a microphone or on a camera and laughingly loudly saying, "Burrow had my ass." Still, I need a T-shirt of that personally at this point.
Burrow,
but that's what they do.
And the best part about that was at that moment in time, Patrick Mahomes was being interviewed. And when what he was asked was, what does this feel like? He's like, I just want to thank God.
He just said, I want to thank God, I want to thank the team. And then Travis Kelce is the perfect. I can't call them Batman and Robin because they're basically both Batman. I'll think of a better analogy later. But he is the perfect foil to the way Mahomes acts in the public eye.
Yeah.
Because Travis, for the most part, is really not as bad as things people try to make him out to be, of how much he can kind of be a little bit of a showboat. Because one, Travis Kelce's earned a lot of it. He's the greatest tight end to play the game of football at this point. I really think we need to start not letting that be as much of a debate anymore. But in the heat of the moment, he will tell you what he is thinking. And it's a perfect foil to Mahomes. Because Patrick will be calm, quiet, just like, I want to thank the team. It's not about me, it's about everybody else. Where Travis Kelce will go, no, we're talking that talk. But that's the thing about Travis Kelce is it's not ever really about Travis Kelce. Yeah, it's never, oh, I'm that good. It's we are that. He's just even still a team centric way of y'all keep down us, look what we do. And I'm always just like, let's all, whatever. And you get Travis being Travis. It's great.
Patrick, what can you say about winning against the Bengals here in the AFC? It's just I'm just so thankful. My team. I just want to thank God. Woo! God.
I need that on a shirt.
Mahomes' house. Fantastic.
I still want to say Joe Burrow does not deserve some of the smoke he got after that because he never said anything about that Burrowhead stuff. It was everyone else started doing that crap.
Awesome.
And Joe's just like, man. That was so
someone
funny.
from the text line from the 785. I have that T-shirt. It's awesome.
Truly.
It's a pretty good one.
Everyone in Chiefs Kingdom needs a Burrowhead my
The
ass.
whole context is great.
Oh, it's so beautiful.
Coming up next, overreaction, proper reaction here on Mic'd Up.
They do have some bangers.
Yeah, this is a hit, man.
Yeah.
And they were acting like they were in, like the dolls that you create, what are those called? The Pinocchio,
Marionette.
Yeah.
I just want to point something out. I have the music video up here that we're playing this
It's
song
a banger, man. They don't make music videos like they
I
used
am
to.
watching this. This is the most 90s thing I've ever seen.
It's enough.
Also, I just want everyone to imagine watching Justin Timberlake at that age dance with the hair he had going on here. Oh, it's funny.
Yeah, the ramen noodle hair.
There's a lot of ramen noodle hair going on here.
And by the way, a quick search around the area. I think if you were in a smaller town, May Day was a thing. Bradley J says he kind of remembers it. Britt says he remembered it.
Okay.
Dan and Brendan have no earthly idea what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Greg Akagi does vaguely remember it. So I
Okay.
think it's got to be a more so younger, or not younger, like smaller, not big, Denver and Chicago. They're too good for that, apparently. So yeah, Wichita might be too big. Now, granted, you're a lot younger.
That too.
Dan and Dan's a couple years younger, but Bradley J said he remembered it. Britt as well. So yeah, Mayday. Yeah, hard to do that right now. Not a good situation. Overreaction, proper reaction. People are giving the Lions too much grief for their draft.
No, it's no reaction. They are not getting enough grief for their draft.
They're not getting it enough.
So I saw this take, and listen, I will entirely put this in the frame of I have my own opinion on this. I saw someone go, when you look at the Lions' overall draft in a full context, that you can actually kind of see what they were doing, and the fact that they had needs they wanted, but they attacked their thinner positions first, of positions like they knew they wanted a running back in this draft. Running back was not a deep draft, so they went early.
Yep.
They knew they needed to get a starting linebacker. Linebacker wasn't particularly deep. We got a linebacker off the rip.
Yep.
They knew tight end was a bit deeper, so they could wait a little bit. Same thing with defensive back. Same thing for all these other spots. I get that thought process. I do, and someone used that as to justify what they were doing. I get that thought process. Positional value has to matter, and what the Lions did goes against the face of positional value. I get it. Here's my thing. Like, they're like, all right, the Lions needed a running back because, they weren't going to keep DeAndre Swift, and they've traded away. They're going to finalize and trade away DeAndre Swift. And so Jahmyr Gibbs is probably going to be their starting running back. I get it. It has been proven that you can get good production of running backs for a fraction of the cost. Whether that's fair to running backs themselves, that is an entirely deeper conversation. The fact of the matter is, positional value tells me taking a running back in the top 12 is not intelligent unless they are a transcendent talent. Like Bijan Robinson going 8th overall was frustrating to me more than anything, not because Bijan Robinson went 8th overall, but Atlanta did not need a running back. They just found a 1,000-yard rusher in the 6th round last year. Jahmyr Gibbs is not the generational talent that Bijan Robinson is. Why are you taking him 12th? And then we go to linebacker. Like, we talked about this. Drew Sanders was a 3rd-round pick.
Yeah.
That's a mighty fine linebacker right there. Why are you taking Jack Campbell 18th overall?
So I had heard of that, and I also thought this. If you take away the money aspect of it, which is a huge part of it.
It is?
If I were to tell you that, what if they took Brian Branch at 12 and Laporta at 18, and then took Gibbs and Campbell at 34 and 45? Because to me, you can argue that Brian Branch at pick 45 might be one of the steals of the draft at 45. And he fell that far because there were a lot of decent corners in this draft. And he's kind of Brian Branch is the L'Jarius Sneed model, if you will. Can play safety, can play corner. He's not like Witherspoon or Singletary or Joey Porter, that type of guy, right? Who's a straight up corner. He's more of a hybrid. But Laporta and Branch going picks 12 and 18, no one would bat an eye at that. Now, maybe Laporta, but they obviously valued Laporta more so than Mayer, right?
Yeah. For whatever reason.
For whatever reason. At least they've got a thought process. And I like the Hendon Hooker pick in round 3.
No, I do too.
I think the Hendon Hooker pick is a great one at that for that value. So I think it's a proper reaction that they're getting roasted, but I think maybe it's I would have just kept DeAndre Swift, and I would have just kept their backup. No,
beyond anything else, I would have kept Jamal Williams.
Yeah. So that to me,
Like
it's not
that's beyond even DeAndre Swift. Jamal Williams is fine for you. Why did you not do that?
like that to me is the question, whether or not you took Gibbs, Campbell, Laporte, and Branch. Like those 4 picks in those spots, to me the issue is that money-wise, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to pay that kind of money. That's why you can take multiple cracks at the quarterback position, because for the next 4 years, CJ Stroud and Jamar Gibbs are essentially going to make damn near the same amount of money.
Yeah.
And who's going to be more influential in their
and that's my thing when it comes to Detroit.
Yeah.
Like, I get if we look at this from a player basis, it's different, but positional value based on where you got it, I don't like
those 2 second-round picks, though, are really good.
Yes, and always say this: just because the results are fine does not mean you cannot discuss the process with which you got there. Does not negate issues with the process.
But I will also say this: you are what your record says you are. You can have a bad process, and Alcides Escobar
Detroit
leading off. That made no damn sense. Absolutely none.
But it worked.
Process-wise.
But it worked. Yeah.
It worked. And so, to me,
if the Lions do this
worked.
and they win the NFC North and pop off Jahmyr Gibbs is a 1,500-yard rusher, it worked.
It
And
worked.
sure, awesome. But we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, correct.
Overreaction, proper reaction. The Arizona Cardinals are going to pick 1st and 2nd in the 2024 draft. They have their own pick.
Yeah.
And they have Houston's 1st-round pick.
I'm going to say overreaction, because that is to have those 2 there, I think it's going to be difficult to go bang, bang. That is wild, though. And if that's the case, that's nuts. But that would benefit them so well if that happens, because here's what you do. The Arizona Cardinals then draft Caleb Williams. They trade Kyler Murray for pennies on the dollar. Does not matter. And then you trade back down because you don't need the 2nd pick anymore. You trade down with somebody because there are a whole bunch of people who are going to want Drake May.
Mm-hmm.
This, and I've seen this all over the place, that, next year's quarterbacks are the ones that everybody's, they always say that next year's quarterback group is way better. Next year's quarterback group is way better. That's not the case, because anyone with 2 eyes who's watched football could realize that Caleb Williams is better than any one of these guys. Last year, the draft class, who was the number 1 quarterback taken in last year's draft?
Kenny Pickett.
In the 2022 draft.
Kenny Pickett.
Kenny Pickett. You're trying to tell me that you'd rather have Kenny Pickett than CJ Stroud or Bryce Young? You're a fool. So the people are like, we always love the next year's draft class. It's so much better. No, that's not the case.
It's both correct and incorrect.
I think it's 1,000%.
I think
correct.
there are plenty of times we always think next year's quarterback class will be rosier than the current one.
I could have told you last year's draft class that Stroud and Young were better than Pickett, and I can tell you, I don't know about Drake May. I'm not completely sold on Drake May, but I am 1,000% sold on Caleb Williams.
Oh, yeah, everyone should be sold on Caleb Williams.
So, that's the reason why everybody's like, it's better. No, it's just simply watching their eyes. Did people think, when was Trevor Lawrence drafted?
2021.
Okay, the 2022 draft class, right?
Yep.
That was Kenny. Were people like, next year's draft class way better. Look at Kenny Pickett. No one said that over Trevor Lawrence. Get out of here with that.
Fair.
But that would be wild if they do. I'm going to say no, just because that is going to
require the Texans to be as bad as they are being projected to early on.
And
they're probably going to roll out C.J. Stroud, rookie quarterback all year. We don't know how that's going to go. They have Will Anderson for the defense, but the rest of that defense ain't good. C.J. Stroud only has so many targets to throw the football to. That offensive line still not great, Bob.
They did have a good draft, man. Stroud, Anderson, Scruggs, Dell. Really good draft.
No, they did.
Really good draft.
Houston might actually become a real football team again. We got to think about that, everybody. Houston might become a real football team again.
Well, I'll have to wait and believe it when I see that, because their leadership is so bad.
I mean, no, I completely agree. Also, shout out them getting Xavier Hutchinson in the 6th round. That's a nice little pickup.
Paris Johnson, Ojala. I mean, Kyler Murray can be good. When does the new Call of Duty come out?
Let's find out. Hold on.
That matters. That matters.
I don't even know if there's supposed to be a new one coming out this year. Because I don't stay with whatever Call of Duty's been doing. Let me see if there's a Call of Duty in 2024.
The
2023.
2023. No, I'm going to say overreaction. I don't think that will occur, but that would be hilarious if it does.
The next Call of Duty is going to be released on November 10th of this year.
So at the end of the year, when they're out of it, they're really going to stink.
So, man, yeah, if they don't start off hot, they're going to get real bad. Is it? This is about to go slightly off tangent here. Is it really a bad sign that we equate a single player and his performance so much with when a Call of Duty video game comes out? Because we all think he's just going to sit there and do nothing but that.
That's a problem. It's a problem.
And he did have a homework clause put into his contract.
Yeah, that's a problem.
That's not good.
No,
not good.
Yeah, the Cardinals draft. I mean, they got Paris Johnson, good offensive lineman, Ojulari, undersized defensive end.
I think the question does come though: if the Cardinals get the first overall pick, do they go Caleb Williams? And then what do you do with that Kyler Murray contract?
You just trade him, put pennies on the dollar.
Who's going to take that contract?
Anybody who's got a crappy quarterback.
Okay.
I said from the beginning I would not have paid Kyler Murray.
I don't disagree. The problem is you have.
Oh yes, yeah.
That's the problem. The problem is they have, and only so many people are going to get that desperate. So I just wonder if you. I'm not saying if you're Arizona to not take Caleb Williams. I think you should.
Okay,
but what do you do?
Do we think the Cardinals are going to be the worst team in the?
Potentially, that roster is stinky.
Who else is really bad?
I just need to stare at the standings for a minute and I'll
What's the what is the betting order?
Because I mean, Cardinals will be bad.
No, I need to know the betting odds right now.
Oh boy, that's a great question.
Like whoever's the least odds to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, let me see how quickly I can pull those up for you.
Do you get what I'm?
I get what you're saying. No, I entirely see it. Yeah, just give me. See if I can get us find the good old NFL futures here.
Okay, here we go. Chiefs are favored at plus 600. They've got the Texans at plus 2,000 along with the Cardinals. They do. They are the two worst betting.
Yeah.
There, and then you got the Colts and the Titans and the Panthers and the Falcons.
Yeah.
The Falcons might stink.
Like the two worst odds are Texans and Arizona.
Wow, they could.
They really could have the first and second overall picks.
That's wild.
Which, if you're Houston, boy, you better hope the rest of your stuff works out, because if you go that bad again, you could have had the second overall pick in back-to-back years. Mm-hmm. You better hope Will Anderson's worth it. Well, CJ Stroud's worth it, because I think your math point is very correct there.
Yeah. Coming up next, we'll get to the Chiefs draft and put a bow on it. She selected 7 players in the NFL draft, and I thought it was interesting hearing from Brett Veach today. Brett Veach spoke to the media. We played that in the 1 o'clock hour. If you missed any of that, you can head to our website, 580wibw.com. Click on the podcast page. You can also go to our YouTube page as well. But he said they tried to trade up. They did. They tried to trade up in the first round, okay? I liken this to they got Felix Anudike-Uzomah, who fits the need, and I do think will be a productive NFL player. I do. I think Uzomah, who played more of an interior, because remember, K-State played a 3-4 this last year. They played a 4-3 the year before that. He had 11 sacks, came off the edge, was an absolute monster. He still was a monster this last year. But he's going to be playing the position that he should be playing, which is an edge rusher. I think he's going to be coached up. I think it's going to be a great situation. I think having Chris Jones, Aminu Karlaftis, and then Felix Anudike-Uzomah coming off the edge is a great situation to be in.
Yeah, I agree.
And it was the safe situation. I think taking Felix Anudike-Uzomah was the safe situation. They could have traded back, but they didn't want to drop that far. Found out today in Peter King's Football Morning in America that the Raiders wanted to trade up, but they didn't want to draft that far because they didn't want to risk it. And I get that. But they tried to get up to the 18 to 23. We were told today from Brett Veach it was too high. We didn't want to give up that much. It wasn't like last year in which you had a lot more draft capital. You already had a first-round pick in your pocket, and that you got George Karlaftis. You had that extra third-round pick because of the Ryan Poles. You had that extra fourth-round pick because of the trade of Tyreek Hill. They even wanted to trade up from 24 to 27, he said. But nobody wanted to trade with them. Our text line, said, yeah, they got 2 players right now. That's why no one wants to trade with them. That's smart. Don't trade with the Chiefs. Make the Chiefs overpay. And the Chiefs stuck to their guns, and they didn't overpay. But those picks, 23 through 27, they didn't want to trade with the Chiefs. They said, no, we ain't giving you what you want. Felix Anudike-Uzomah was not their first choice. I liken this to prom. It's prom right now. The Chiefs wanted to ask somebody different. They did. They tried. They said no. Or their parents said, no, we're not going to let you take our,
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
They tried. And so then they went with the safe pick, and they went with the person they knew that they could get and were happy with, and they're going to have a great time. They shot for the moon, like with the super, popular person. Couldn't get it. That's okay. So you went to prom with someone not your first choice. And I still think it's a good fit. It's a position of need. It is something that they needed because Dana ain't going to be here after 2023.
Yeah.
Now you've got 2 pass rushers, Aminu, and they will eventually extend Chris Jones. I truly believe that for the next 4 years.
It's a good spot to be in.
It's a great spot to be in. Now, Aminu just for 2 years, but you get the point. Coming up next, we will finish things off with the mic drop. Off with the mic drop, Fulton. What do you got?
It's very simple. I've really enjoyed this Chiefs draft. I'm excited to see how it all unfolds, who goes where, who kind of lands in what spot, how it all shapes out. But it's a very interesting draft that I think sets them all up nicely for the future.
Steph Curry became the first player in NBA history to score 50 points in a Game 7.
He's really good.
I think they're going to beat the Lakers. I think they're going to make it back. This is not a good team. This is a different team from last year that won it. Steph Curry, top 10 player of all time, changed my mind. Coming up next, we got 580 Sports Talk and then no Royals baseball, so we all win. We'll talk to you tomorrow at noon.